our building project that we're planning on doing. Everybody knows about the courthouse renovation that we've been talking about for some time. And that was something that we'd been told about when we first came in 2 years ago into office. It was something that was already underway. We kind of changed directions a little bit, changed the architect, and came up with some new plans. And then when we got pretty well full speed into that project with renovating the interior of the courthouse, we had another project that was kind of thrown in at us, and that was the old jailhouse, or the OES center, where the 911 center is housed. We had an inspection by our insurance company. They looked at it and told us that we needed to do something with the building or move out and find a different location, or they weren't going to cover our equipment. And a lot of the equipment was housed and is housed there in the basement. We're having environmental issues and moisture issues. And Butch, how much are we talking there as far as equipment value?
Butch Campbell, County Commissioner. We have in excess of $3 million worth of electronics in the basement of the courthouse, plus all the 911 equipment up on the first floor. With the moisture issues down there, that was a prime concern of the insurance carrier, having that value of equipment and a significant portion of that at risk of being damaged due to the moisture. So that was their prime concern, was to get that equipment out of there. And we looked at renovating the back portion. Anybody that's been in the 911 center knows that it's cramped, to say the least. I hate to use analogies that somebody else has, so we should have, but a good example is we have 3 consoles for dispatching in the main room and 1 additional console in a separate room. Jefferson County, also a 6th-class county, population about the same as ours. 911 call volume is less than Clarion County's, and they have 6 consoles to work from. The 3 that we have that are up and operational are manned 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So we don't even have a good backup system should one or more of those consoles fail. So that raised significant issues in addition to the insurance issues.
So we had people in offices in the basement of the old jail. We've since moved them out. They're in the courthouse right now in space that we have open there. The building is, the old jail has been obsolete for probably some time actually. So then we started into having EADS also design, or we started a search for where we could possibly move the OES Center to. We checked out different buildings, some of them outside the borough, because the 911 center wouldn't have to be in the borough, like the administration of the courthouse needs to be in the county seat. So we looked at places like the record building out in Payne Township, and the UI, Philo, and some other locations. Did our due diligence, did a lot of research, had structural engineers check out all these buildings. We were thinking about possibly purchasing some of these buildings to move some of our offices out into these buildings, renovating them. Some of them we rent now off of landlords, and they're not really keeping those buildings up to specifications that we would like. They're not, a lot of the buildings we rent for probation currently, domestic relations, public defender, they're not up to code, they're not handicap accessible, and so forth. So to better serve the public, we came up with a new idea, and that was,
If I may interject, looking at facilities to move the 911 center to, the estimated costs were any place between $2 and $5 million plus property acquisition. So, you know, that created a significant issue for us.
so we came up with this plan now where we would like to build a new building, keep it in the borough. We're very sensitive to Borough Council's concern of, who's on the tax rolls, property on the tax rolls, and we really do not want to start buying up more buildings in the borough and taking more properties off the tax rolls. So with this idea of building the new building, that would eliminate that prospect. And in addition to that, we would be keeping the workers in town. 911 OES Center has, what's about 30 employees?
30 employees.
About 30 people work in that building there alone. So they would be staying in the new building, or the annex as we're calling it at this time. So we have a look. I think Commissioner Fowler has the
Greg Fowler, Commissioner.
photos that were done up for us by EADS. This is a conceptual look at what it might look like upon completion. The top picture is looking at it straight across Main Street from like in Veterans Memorial Park. And then the bottom photo is a slightly diagonal view from the west side. It would be 3 stories. A total of 21,000 square feet. And I think we have enough for the press people that are here. And as you can see, there is a connecting corridor between the 2 buildings. And what we think we can do is the bottom floor of the annex will be able to go pretty much straight across into the bottom floor of the courthouse from what is now the basement. There may have to be some earth moved there, but probably not much. We haven't gotten all the surveys done as of yet. The second floor would go straight across, if you're walking through the corridor, to the main floor of what is now the main floor of the courthouse, which is where you find many of the row offices, register, recorder, assessment, and orthonotary. And then the top floor of the annex would go across to the second floor of the courthouse, which is where the courtroom, the main courtroom is located now. And the people, the main entrance then would be in that corridor. You can see the main door there. They would have to check in there for security and then go left if they want to go into the annex, or go right into the courthouse. And as far as the annex, what we have in there, Commissioner Paul, do you want to tell them about the different floors?
Yes, I can. The annex has 3 floors. As Wayne said, the ground floor, first and second. The ground floor would be a land services floor that would contain your register recorder, assessment, planning, GIS, anything that does with land development that people have to get permitting and do anything with the deed recording would be all in that one floor. It would be a land services floor, something that I think Clarion would help for economic development. The second floor would be our floor for 911 OES, so that'd be a secure floor. And the third floor would be a floor that would be the same level as Wayne was saying with the courthouse, second floor, and that would be the second courtroom and judicial offices on that top floor of the annex. The annex right now is basically 70 by 100, and each floor is basically 7,000 square feet, but that's still, just give you a rough idea of the 3 floors, about 7,000 square feet per floor. should be very functional, should serve the county. This project is something that we're looking to do. Wayne and Butch and I are trying to not kick a can down the road, something that'll be 30 to 50 years, something that the county can work with and see a nice future with. So I think the project would do that. We really feel that this has been the decision that brings it all together at having an annex, this building as we're proposing.
Yeah, this is a product, like you said, we think it's going to serve the residents for 30 to 50 years down the road, not something that we're just going to, spend $1 million here, a couple million here and there, and then 5-10 years from now, we got to spend more money, because in the long run, the way we see it, it costs the taxpayers more doing it that way. As you can see from the overhead view, the annex is pasted in there on the left, to the left of the courthouse. That annex is right now where there's an alley. What's Jefferson Place alley. Pretty much goes right down the center of the annex in that overview. So, what we're asking from the borough is to vacate that alley. That may not be a good word. Abandon the alley. And then we would gain some spaces because of the new configuration. You'd gain a few spaces on Main Street because that alley's not there. We would also gain a few spaces for parking in the back of the annex. But we would lose, and we were counting the spaces this morning. What were the numbers?
There would be a net loss of 7 spaces at this point.
And then, of course, we would also be asking for some setback variances from the borough as well to do a project like this. So that's mainly why we're here, is to ask your support for that. We've done a lot of research. We've been at this for a couple years now, and a lot of research. And as far as cost, we think the option of not building the annex is a lot more expensive to the taxpayers, not only of the county but also of the borough. Estimates range from like $11 to $12 million to renovate the courthouse and then also purchase and renovate other buildings in the borough or in the township. Whereas this project, we're coming in an estimate right now of about $8 million. So we're thinking of saving the taxpayers possibly around $3 million. The other good thing about this annex was when we were going to renovate the courthouse, we weren't thinking about the 911 center yet. We were looking for places to house the employees in the courthouse while we renovated, because it was going to be all interior work. They would have to evacuate while the renovation was going on for possibly close to a year. So we were going to have to rent different buildings to put those in, and we figured the cost of that, by the time you figure paying rent, moving expenses, rewiring, and all the IT work that would be involved, anywhere from $800,000 to $1 million in money spent for just that. With the building of the annex, now what we can do is build the annex first. The annex will be empty. Everybody's still staying where they're at this point. And then when we start to renovate the inside of the courthouse, we can move those people into the annex temporarily and do the courthouse and finish that, and then move everybody to their final destinations and have no added expense for, renting outside buildings. So we're saving there possibly another $1 million. Jefferson County did a similar project where they renovated their courthouse and they spent $600,000.
And that was in moving and rent. That did not include their transitional cost build outs.
And that was several years ago for Jefferson County to do that. So this gives us an opportunity to do that a little bit differently. Did I forget anything, guys, that's important?
For you to do setbacks and to know property position, for this project, our next step would be to contract with an engineer firm to do a survey. And the survey then would plot you exactly where the building would sit in elevations. So then that paperwork then would come to the borough for the building and whether setbacks were needed, not needed, elevation. And I think in that also, they would do a PA1 call, so we would know when it was presented to the borough, what utilities, all of those type of things. So if the results of the borough here tonight is favorable, that's the next step we need to do is contract to have a site and elevation survey. Then you'll have a definite idea of the placement and distances and things because of your zoning and setback. That's where we're at today.
Are there any questions? I have one. Can you address your timeline?
We hope to go to bid end of this year, around December, and then construction would begin in March, probably, next March.
It's a rather aggressive timeline, but the reason for that is, again, cost savings. If we put it out to bid in December or January, all the firms looking for spring work will be doing it at that time of year, and we stand a better chance of getting more competitive bidders, and also doing a project like this as opposed to piecemealing the renovation of the courthouse and then the renovation and purchase of at least 2 other buildings in town to accommodate. We're going to end up with 3 building projects and 3 smaller projects, not getting the quality or the volume from a contractor where you're committing to with one contract for the renovation and the construction of the annex, a much better project. They're assured any place from 12 to 20 months of work. So that will also be a cost savings to the county.
So to get this project moving on the commissioner side, the thing that you need tonight from us is will we proceed with vacating or giving up
The alley.
Jefferson.
the alleys. The other items, setback, they'll come after, then you can go ahead and what I'm saying, and actually have your engineer put everything down. After if the alleys are vacated, that's what you really need here tonight. You can't move ahead until you really get, council gets back to you on that, am I correct?
Exactly
I
correct.
mean, there's other the setbacks and them are small things. The alley would be one of the biggest for council to, you want council to do.
That would be up to
Vacate
you.
the alley.
That would be up to you guys to vote on that tonight if you wanted to.
Yeah, well, I'm saying if tonight, but that's what that's what you really need right now. That's what.
Yeah, the other parts, as you said, are minor, and we would not presume to ask for approval on setbacks or things like that when we really don't know what we're asking for. But we do know that to facilitate this project, the abandonment of Jefferson Place is a prime concern and a necessity to move forward with it. Without that, this project cannot move forward.
And what you said here, I agree with you on a couple of things. One, you've said that you won't be taking then any more property, you won't be taking any property off the tax base, that we don't have a good tax base in the borough anyways, and we're not ready to lose any more. And the other item is that, well, many more, but this way we're keeping the people in the borough of Clarion. we lose the store, but I don't want your mind to go anywhere else, because these 100 or more than, we can't afford closed buildings, but we can't afford to have the people go out of town and work. That normally would walk and our restaurants, our other items, to put that back, we're gonna lose 20-some, I think, from Clarion News. Yeah, they're going not far, but it's not walking distance. I want to keep them in town. I don't want I don't want you to take any buildings off the tax roll, and I want to keep all the employees bring more into the town to work. That's important. As important as having the storefronts all filled.
This could be looked at as revitalization
Right.
downtown and something positive instead of always hearing something negative. Another business is closing down and leaving. There are businesses that are open also too, but they just don't get the publicity. I think that this would be something good, and then you're going to have all these workers and contractors in town also for probably a year or more. So that's another bonus as well.
And it's a win-win for the county and the borough. This is my
And
comment.
the total employees that could be transitioned out of the borough, if we would take all of those out, is about 60 people. Because we've got 30 EMS people, plus the probation, which is around 20, and then we have about 7 or 8 in our domestic relations. So it's a significant number. I'm not saying we would have moved all of them out, but the potential is there. All those spaces need to be
Anytime one or two employees that work in the borough now that would leave, is a problem.
And the other big things is, as I mentioned, we're going to save your taxpayers as well as the entire taxpayers of the county money, and it's just positive service for the residents of the borough as well. We're going to be able to serve them a lot better than we do now. Greg mentioned the land services departments we're going to all put in that one floor of the annex as it is now. Some of them are in our administration building and some are in the courthouse. People are running back and forth across the streets and here, there, and everywhere to get what they need. And we hope to concentrate all of that in one location to better serve the public.
Anybody else from council with questions?
Yes, I have a couple questions and comments. What will happen to the current site of the 911 center? What's going to happen to that building? Well, I mean, what are you envisioning in the future is going to happen with that property?
That's a can I'd like to kick down the road.
I appreciate your honesty.
It's a historic building, so you really don't want to demolish it. It's a sick building, so you really don't want to utilize it. That's the dilemma.
Right now, we use it for storage quite a bit. Like, I don't know if anybody knew this or not, but every department in the county has their own cell block. You know, it used to house a prisoner for storage space. So we'll probably still continue to utilize it for storage over there this time. But as far as housing anyone over there right now, it doesn't look like we're going to.
That's fair. I noticed as we do this that we're going to lose some space that's traditionally been used for autumn leaf rides and vendors, because they do use the alleyway in there too. We're kind of shrinking that down. Is that going to fit with, you know, trying to keep the festival in town and rides and things like that? We're going to have less area to do that.
We're not sure what's going to happen with the Autumn Leaf Festival. All we know is that for the county to move forward the way we see that it needs to be done, this is a project that we think we need to do. And 1 week out of 52 is not at the top of our list, but we will do. We're gonna work with the chamber to try to accommodate them in any way we can.
For two small kids, it's top of their agenda. They like the rides, but I just wanted to ask.
I don't know if you guys have any other.
It definitely was a concern of ours, and we'll try to do whatever we can to find more space available to make the festival. But, you know, the festival will have to evolve also, you know, as far as placement of rides and how it is conducted.
Maybe you guys can come up with some more space in the borough somewhere too. I don't know.
And I noticed that there is an open area in between the courthouse and the annex that you're planning in there. Is there any, what are you gonna do in that open area in there? Does that, you know, if we shifted that annex over towards the courthouse, would that alleviate the need for the alleyway or to create more parking space or something like that? I don't know what your plans are, that's why I'm asking.
The viaduct,
Well,
way,
The space in between
The
the
space
buildings.
is
Yeah.
right now gonna probably be a courtyard in behind, and that viaduct is gonna be glass, so you'll be able to see through it. The architect wanted to keep, because of the historic value of the courthouse, didn't wanna see an annex, which you see in a lot of other counties, butted right up next to it.
Right.
He wanted to have space, and also in providing the space, the courthouse didn't have a focus on a main entrance, like right now, the courthouse entrance is down around the side, and so this way, by giving a little distance and putting the space, it saved on only one elevator, and it helped with security and gave a focused main entrance. But behind the glass corridor, that right now is probably gonna be a courtyard.
Good use.
But it won't block the courthouse as much this way. If we move it closer, it would block that whole side of the courthouse, especially if you're coming from the west.
Well, and lighting the annex too, so. And I do like the picture, I do like the design, it does fit, it does look nice, it looks like it belongs there. And the other big thing I question is so we're gonna lose 7 parking spaces worth of revenue basically ongoingly as a borough.
Yes.
And the last comment I have is I really like the way you guys do the white lights in the windows of the courthouse. You can see it from my kitchen window, and I think it looks great. I just wanted to throw that in since I had you here. Looks great.